Hello, and welcome to the new series Under the Lens, where maybe every week, maybe every other day, maybe every day. That still be determined. But it's going to be a new series where we're going to have guests on, like Derek Clausen has joined us today, to look at quarterback prospects, running back, defensive line, wide receiver. Just taking a look at 2016 prospects. Yes, it is early. Start out ahead. Take a look at the 2014 tape, maybe at 2013. All depends on what. So get a preseason look at them, and then 2-3 months down the line, we're going to take a look at some of their 2015 games, see where they progress, see how much progress they made. And so we're starting out today with one of the bigger, probably more controversial hot takes there are out about him. And so, Derek, let's just get how you feeling about this series? How you feeling about watching Christian Hackenberg today?
Fun series. I'm going to be doing all the quarterbacks, and maybe I'll hop on for some of the others, but definitely hit all the quarterbacks. And of course, we had to start off with Christian Hackenberg, so I'm sure anyone that follows me knows I'm in on him. Being successful. I'm pretty sure he's number one quarterback.
Now, I have to ask this because this was a concern for some quarterbacks in the past. How were the size of his knees? Are they okay?
They were looking good. Definitely round one material.
First, just start out talking about Hackenberg. Obviously, big 2013 as a freshman. 2014, James Franklin is his coach. James Franklin, great recruiter. Well, I'll leave that with you. After watching 2014, comparing it to 2013, how did you feel about James Franklin as a fit for Hackenberg?
James Franklin, I don't like him at all. His offense is designed for incompetent quarterbacks that can't really read the field, while making a drop and sinking their feet with a throw. But Hackenberg thrives when he's supposed to read the field while sinking his feet for a throw. That's who he is. He's exactly what an NFL style offense typically does. And then James Franklin came in and kind of added all these really weird hurry up, just kind of sit in the pocket and scan everything that way, and that just didn't really fit the way Hackenberg plays. So I think we saw a little bit of a production drop because of that, just because the system wasn't really fitting how Hackenberg likes to play at all. If I remember correctly, they lost 4 of their 5 offensive linemen from 2013 to 2014, and then he also lost Allen Robinson. And I'm not necessarily making personnel excuses, because there's plenty of other quarterbacks that have to deal with middling personnel, like even Jared Goff has to deal with a really awful offensive line with some middling receivers. The big thing I push for Hackenberg is that the system, it wasn't that O'Brien's system miraculously made Hackenberg look great. It was that James Franklin's system really didn't fit Hackenberg at all. Just the way it asked him to read the field and make his drops, or lack thereof for the most part. So I think if we can ever see Hackenberg back in a traditional offense, he'll look much like and a lot more like the guy everyone was hyping in 2013.
Yeah, you throw in the crap offense, which didn't fit Hackenberg at all. You throw in the offensive line at Penn State, which, to say it was bad, I think would be giving them credit for something which they don't deserve. Well, it's better left unsaid, and that's a recipe for a player having what's considered a bad year, or not as good of a year as people saw in 2013. But in fairness of James Franklin, going from high school caliber quarterback to an NFL quarterback, that's a big period for him. I mean, that's a big change of talent.
The game we're going to watch today, the UCF game, is under center, and that's exactly what Hackenberg should be doing. And then after that game, they kind of just moved away from it, and Franklin was like, screw it, we're just going to make him sit there and scan the field. And that's just not really how Hackenberg works.
Well, hopefully the shock period for Franklin of seeing a quarterback who can actually make good throws and good decisions and all of those things will wear off, and he'll let Hackenberg free, but that's probably not likely. So one game we will be looking at today, and it's 2014 versus UCF, and this is a game where, I mean, it actually looks somewhat like a reasonable offense, like something you'd see. It was reasonable.
All year, except for maybe the BC game. The BC game was still a little more no huddle, but it looked like Hackenberg was a lot more comfortable in that game. But the UCF game was definitely the most fitting to Hackenberg's style.
So before we get into this game, what are some things that we should be looking for while watching Hackenberg versus UCF?
His drops are really clean, and he hits the top and quickly pops out into a throw. He's really quick to move from one read to the next. It almost looks like he's really not doing it at all, and then still be able to hit a throw 15 yards down the field on his third read or something. I think that's really impressive. For the most part, he handles pressure pretty well. If I remember correctly, it actually might be the Akron game from 2014. Really, really long third and like 20-something throw off his back foot that hit like a post. It was insane. It was one of the best throws I've probably ever seen. I think it was this game, but if I remember correctly, he does have a long throw in this game. So just look for how well he's able to handle these pressure situations like that.
So with that, I said let's take a look at Christian Hackenberg in 2014 versus UCF when, it was reasonable offense for James Franklin. So, James Franklin, here's to you for giving us something reasonable to watch. Thank you. All right, now we'll present that. All right, so here we go. Versus UCF 2014. Obviously, the offensive line changed at wide receiver, but here we go. Oop.
That throw was a little behind. He probably restricted Yak on that one, to be perfectly honest. That is a damn good throw. To be able to have pressure come straight at you, move away, keep your eyes down the field, and then make a throw that was, probably 12, 15 yards down the line of scrimmage, that is really, really impressive. There's honestly not too many guys that can do that. Yeah, that was about 16 yards down the field. That's really an impressive throw. I mean, one, just to get away from the pressure is impressive enough, but to be able to find a receiver from that platform and that distance is pretty incredible.
Throwing on the run. Good.
Is that Jesse James?
I
mean, he made the play, but normally I hate Jesse James. He might even have a play in this game that I really harped on him for. I actually don't remember which game it was. But Jesse James is an awful football player.
But he has size, so people fall in love with size.
Okay, can you rewind this play a little bit? I remember putting this one in the Football Savages article I did a little while ago on Hackenberg. He throws this out the right way, but the receiver doesn't adjust back to the ball like he should. He kind of just tries to let the ball fly out and hope it's going to make it to his hands, and it lets the defensive back in position enough to make a play on it. I think if you see the receiver take one more step closer to the ball, that's a completion. So, I mean, that doesn't look like it's that good a play on Hackenberg's part. But if the receiver really just takes one or two steps closer to the line of scrimmage, that's a reception.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I sure as heck would like to see the receiver being more physical and try and go after that. I mean, his short armed it just.
No, that was a good job of being able to get the ball, to where the safety's not going to be able to quite get to it yet, but also like the receiver had to slow up a little bit, and that might have been able to be a touchdown if you let him. But he definitely still put it inside the cornerback and able to allow the receiver to make a play on it. That's a good deep throw.
Just watching this game last time, the one thing that just stood out, and it goes back to first, but his movement and it's
really, really good, and it just looks so natural. Like nothing he's doing seems forced or out of place. See, that's just really quick knowing where the soft spot in the linebacker zone is going to be. I don't remember them running too many screens this game, But I remember James Franklin's offense as a whole ran way too many screens.
Yeah, I think in this game
That,
there were only.
that throw a little bit.
Yep. There.
It looks like he just big thing with him last year was his release point and him releasing too late in his release, and that seems like that was maybe the issue there, because normally he's able to hit a throw like that. I mean, we saw it earlier, even after pressure. So I think on that play, I'd definitely like to see him control his arm a little better and keep that ball high, because he definitely got, the right. It would have hit him right in the chest if he'd thrown the ball a little higher, but definitely wasn't a good play. See, I don't like. See, that's what I mean. That's not who he is. I mean, that was still an ill-advised throw, but you see him. He doesn't really take a drop. He just kind of takes a. And the offense is supposed to, he's supposed to be able to watch everything. But the way Christian Hackenberg works is he likes to have things happen at certain times in his drop or in the play. And with that type of supposed to stand there and make a throw, that's just not who he is. He likes the preciseness of having something happen at the right time. And he's smart, in knowing when things are supposed to be there. He's very good at adjusting when things aren't supposed to be there. But when you just kind of force him to stand there, scan the pocket, he ends up seeing things or not seeing things that he should have, like the poaching linebacker right there that was able to. Or, I don't know if that was a linebacker, but poaching able to jump the throw. Looked like he definitely identified the blitzer off the left end. Naturally moving in the pocket. And then, I mean, that throw would have been placed a tad better, but I mean, he still did a good job of getting a lot of yards on that play. See, I mean, there's another example of him knowing when something or where something is going to be at the end of the drop. He ends his drop. He looked like he was looking right side, saw it wasn't there, turned to his left, saw exactly where the receiver was and should have been, hit the throw. That's a lot of what I love seeing out of Christian Hackenberg, and it's something we see a lot from him. When the offense allows him to do it. I mean, that was just a simple slant. Like he dropped it. That throw might have been a little, but I mean, it still looked catchable. But it definitely was a little low, and that should have been more easily catchable than he made it. Another great play getting away from pressure.
Are we sure he's a sophomore and not some senior who's been playing football all his life?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like his freshman year, he did so many things that I've never even really seen senior quarterbacks do, or I mean, other top-level quarterbacks. I mean, I've seen it, but to see it at 18 years old was just incredible. He still shows some of those things when, the offense is built to allow him to show off those traits. That should have been caught to the receiver, but that definitely should have been a reception. And that's a reception for a lot of NFL receivers. At least I would like to think so. That's a great play. Had definitely a couple rushes there coming straight at his face on a third down, no less. It looked like, there's definitely one free rusher, two more get free off the edge. And he's forced to throw off his back foot, running back. And he still makes the throw and gets the first down. It's those type of thrives that I love to see, and he just has this cold-bloodedness where like nothing really phases him, and you know those types of situations just aren't too big for him. And to see a guy where the situations like that aren't him, that's you know almost every time a really talented quarterback. And then right there was it didn't look like anything special, but it was definitely a very well placed throw over the middle. I mean that's exactly how that play should be executed, and you put the ball right where it needed to be. That was perfect. I mean, and I noticed, or not noticed, but with the way Hackenberg rolls out and uh, comes back upfield, the way how efficient his feet are in getting back upfield is probably the best I've seen other than Teddy Bridgewater. And Teddy Bridgewater was a great quarterback prospect. He should have went first overall, and he had a great rookie year. But and that's kind of I think an underrated trait to be able to work back field off of a rollout because once you're getting upfield, you're making the throw easier on yourself. Um, and then that zone throw should have been caught. Kyle Carter just couldn't get a hand on it. Can you rewind this play a little bit?
Yep.
I mean, this looks like a really simple throw, but that's across the field with with a defender running straight at you. There's you know I don't want to harp on Jared Goff too early, but Jared Goff is a guy who probably looks at that throw and triggered because he's doesn't really think his arm is going to be able to make it, but Hackenberg knows he has to make the throw. And then that's just an incredible throw to split defenders. Get it right over the linebacker, but inside the safety. And a lot of those head throws, the seam throws like that, are a combination of your velocity as well as your timing. And you see he hits that top of his route, shoots out of it, and makes the throw. That's just really good looking.
You see what happens when you give them time, Penn State. It's an incredible thing.
Exactly. If you give him just a little bit of time and let him get a proper drop back and see the field that way, he looks really good. I mean, and you see the timing with those like curls and comeback routes. He hits them right when he needs to hit them, so that he can make sure his guy has enough space to catch this ball cleanly.
And it's not even this. Yeah, most quarterbacks succeed in that situation. But he's succeeding in that situation and when there's pressure in his face, ability to navigate the pocket, pose with his anticipation.
Exactly, and that's one of the things I really started stressing on because of the way Matt Waldman explained it. You have to be, and I think he said this when he was about Matt Leinart, quarterbacks have to be able to win within the confines when everything crumbles, like this play looks like. And Hackenberg does both in both areas, and for him to be able to do that means really that no situation is going to be too big for him. He's going to be able to handle it and make plays just like you saw him there. Pressure got to him. He had to bail out of the pocket. He was looking downfield, just couldn't quite find a throw he wanted to make. Ran out after getting the first down.
And that Leinart fourth quarter stands out to me.
That fourth quarter drive will kill me from Leinart. That throw, in my opinion, he almost should have waited for a second and let the tight end cross the linebacker's face or cross behind the linebacker or just get a little more depth. Because he threw behind the tight end with the way the play looked there.
Okay. Whoop, you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, sweet.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Go back to this.
Are we going back to the seam throw that he had? Oh, okay, this is one where Yeah, this is the one where he. Oh, I don't remember this one actually. Oh, I do remember this throw. Okay, I mean, with it ending like it did, and it having no other option, kind of hucking it up like that, and hoping your guy can come down with it. It probably would have been a little smarter to try to take the yard somewhere and put yourself in a goal position, especially since Sam Ficken is a pretty good kicker. Uh, but I mean, it isn't a bad idea. I think he was probably remembering how he could be an Allen Robinson in those situations and tried leaving it up there. So it wasn't an awful idea, but it probably would have been smarter to see him just take the yards there. I would have been like you would like to at least see him make some sort of throw there. He definitely should have held. He shouldn't have held on to the ball as long as he did, especially in fourth down. Just kind of try to get something out of the play. If they intercept it, there was what 17 seconds left in the quarter. They're not going to do anything with it. Did he complete that?
Yes.
Wow. To be able to cross your body like that and not really plan and make that kind of throw with
And we are back, and I just want this to be proof for all the people who say robots are going to take over the world. I think technology has proved on this occasion that it's not capable of that. That's just not going to happen. You can't always trust technology. So technology, robot takeover has been ruled out officially. But now let's get back to Christian Hackenberg, and we'll start off pretty much right where we left off, beginning of third quarter versus UCF. So here we go.
See, I mean, these kinds of throws look really simple, but I mean, like I said earlier with Jared Goff, I don't think Jared Goff can make an opposite, like to throw from the right hash to the left or to the left side of the field, 7 yards down the field like that. Um, Goff just isn't going to be able to hit that throw consistently. There's going to be quicker cornerbacks that are going to be able to jump his throws. But with Hackenberg, you see the precision and arm strength to be able to hit those types of throws all the time. This was about as good as Hackenberg could do on that play. He had pressure in his face. He's moving backwards. Your best bet here is to try to put it out of reach of everyone, but especially the defenders. And you see here, if anyone's going to get to the ball, it's going to be that receiver. But even he doesn't get to it. At the least, it's an incompletion, not a sack. In context, that's completion, and nobody likes incompletions, but pressure was and where that throw had to be, there's really no way he was supposed to complete that.
Well, I
And
mean,
some plays are going to be like that. Like you just can't win all the plays. See, that was cool to see him go from the right side to the left side, back to the right side. He definitely doesn't put quite enough under that one, pushing it down the field. Uh, he had enough faith in his receiver to let him go up and get that. He still definitely, man, he gets a good route and gets a lot of separation there down at the bottom uh, with that hitch and go. And that definitely could have been a touchdown. I still like that it was a completion and he threw a catchable ball, but that probably should have been a touchdown play. It looks like maybe he was stalling too far on the left side to make sure the safety was held over, and then when he moved back to his right side, didn't quite have the space to operate to make that throw cleanly. That's what it looked like to me. Sometimes he just lets these boundary throws away from him when he's throwing to the boundary. He has plenty of arm strength to complete him. It just looks like he's just throwing him usually too low. So it's gonna be it's interesting to try to figure out what exactly that problem is. And like I said earlier, in 2013 he had issues with releasing too late. in his arm motion. It's a little bit hard to see here in like the half motion, but or on the screen share, but that very well could be the issue again. For him to get that throw off, even though it doesn't look like on it, for him to keep cool and get the ball off to his receiver cleanly was impressive because it looked like he had two defenders wrapped around him there. Yeah, he has one flying off the edge, another one off the interior. Still.
I know it keeps going getting back to, but just the ability to do all this while under pressure. He's making some of these throws while he's about to be hit. That's big time NFL caliber stuff.
I mean, to be able to be that calm in that situation, man, like not many guys can do that. Any athlete type to be able to jump around defenders like that, and honestly, in that situation, an athlete type like maybe I don't know, Trevon Boykin might have been able to evade both of those defenders and run for some yardage. But at the very least, you see this trait from Hackenberg where he's not out with pressure in his face, and he's tried to make some sort of throw. That time, it looked like he was just isn't quite athletic enough to get away from it. And that's exactly where a screen throw should be. About a step in front of the receiver and let him move a little bit while he's catching the ball. Wow. How did he get so open? I would assume it was that pump fake he had.
Yeah.
But it looked more like he was throwing to the slant guy, but maybe he was throwing to that guy on the deep crosser. The deeper defenders bit and let, I believe that's Sir Hamilton or Lewis. But let him get deep, and Hackenberg saw that. Here, we'll see here. Yeah, it looks like he pumps the crosser and then just bites for it, and he gets his receiver deep down the field. That's perfect. I mean, that's probably, maybe this is stretching it, but that's probably knowing a defensive tendency that they're going to try to bite on that crosser and to try to fake that, and then to know, if I pump fake it, they're going to bite, and I'm going to have my guy deep, and that was just a really incredible, sense of the defense.
That's core film study by him.
The screens have been working well in this game for the most part because they're not like doing it overkill like they did in so many of the other games later in the year. But when they use them sparingly with the deeper threat that Hackenberg has, it definitely works a lot better. See, look how precise Hackenberg's last couple of steps at the end of that rollout drop and at the top of that rollout drop are. I know he makes a really ugly throw here, but the precision of the footwork, making sure he stays low and can explode out of that is really impressive. Once you see him take some short, choppier steps, make sure he bends his knees a little bit and gets low and then just shoots back. This is a throw he just shouldn't have made. He should have just thrown this ball away. Instead, he tries to do a little bit too much and to make sure he can, which is kind of what I was talking about earlier with him just, sometimes you got to take the L. You're not going to be able to win every play, and I think that's more than anything to understand is that it's okay to throw this ball away. You don't have to try to force this throw. And it looked like he may have been able to make that throw if it was not behind the receiver, but I still think that's just toss that one away.
Could he have made the throw earlier?
If he makes the throw a tad over him or under the receiver. Yeah, if he tries making this earlier, it looks like he's not quite in a good enough angle. By the time he's able to throw it, the safety or the defensive back from the boundary is able to close the gap, and then so it's such a window, and he just can't. He just doesn't fit it. He throws it a little bit behind the receiver. He's not able to hit that throw. Like I said, he should have just tossed that one away. There was no need to really try to force that throw.
Now you mentioned the base. How important do you think the base is for the quarterback, keeping the base balance and just the footwork?
The base is huge because that's where you generate, for most passers, that's where you generate a lot of your power. You have a few exceptions like Cam Newton just generates a ton of torque from his chest. But most passers are going to be sitting on their base, and that's where they get a lot of their power. Driving it up from the leg through the front of their body, and playing low is critical to that. And in 2013, we didn't see Hackenberg play all that low. He played up on his feet a lot. I think we've seen him be better with it in 2014. Just making sure he has this flat base to throw from, and I think that's helped him some with and making sure his arm is where it needs to be. That deep throw was just really lucky. He underthrew that a little bit. Ball went up, come down. That should have been an incompletion. I think that was a good job of Hackenberg trying to move and trying to find something, and then putting the ball where really nobody can get to it. And if anyone's going to get to it, it's his guy, kind of like the one play earlier. Play. When you have a quarterback that can hit those shallow, far throws when the defense is playing off, it makes it scary for the defense because they think you can beat them deep. But if you can continuously short like that, it's going to be tough for the defense to be able to truly defend you like they really want to. Like that scheme was devised to. It looked like he was looking for the guy on the quick out or quick hitch there. Because it looked like on that throw, they only need a couple of yards, so he didn't see the guy he needed. He just took off, which was a good play. Here you see him evade pressure again and just get the throw off that he can. And the back's able to make a first down out of it.
Yeah, get the yards you can. I mean, it's last game-winning drive and just composure.
Exactly. Don't panic much. Let the plays come to you, and that's exactly what he did. Doesn't see the guy he wants, moves, and makes a throw. That looked a lot like the throw that we saw, I think Hamilton dropped earlier, but there he looks like, he or someone, I can't see the number on the receiver, but, he made that high and outside throw. And if that throw was anywhere else, the defender's getting to it. So that wasn't an easy catch, but that's the only catchable spot for this throw. After maneuvering from pressure was a really impressive throw with only 20 seconds left being on the clock. Again, I mean, they're giving Hackenberg these soft coverages and not letting it get to him. Taking advantage of it almost every time that he can. Oh, did we go back to the...
Yeah,
see, that's a really impressive throw.
I'm just going to let it play. I mean, his composure on these fourth quarter drives is just surreal.
I mean, both in the fourth quarter, like right now, and even though they didn't win the Ohio State game, he had a very impressive. And then third downs, like I was saying earlier, nothing seems to phase him. He's just always, the same player, the same. He's gonna find a way to get the ball down the field, and you don't see Hackenberg end the game here, but there were a lot of key plays he made on that drive to get his team into field goal position and let Sam Ficken take it away.
Could we check his birth certificate? Are you sure he's as young as he says he is? Because
he was 19 years old last season, and to do some of the things he did at 19 and to be as physically mature as he is at 19 is just incredible. I mean, really the only way he has to go is up, and he's already an incredibly talented guy. Experience-based things like knowing when to force a throw and when to kind of just throw it away. I think once you see him get maybe some more snaps and understand when to do that, because you really do have to keep in mind that he's only 19 years old when you're watching his. So when you understand the context of how old he is and the new system and everything around him, and look at what he was able to accomplish, he really did an impressive job in 2014, despite everyone thinking he really just had this train wreck every year.
And one thing you went back to is that, late release sometimes. Is that something you think with James Franklin that can fix, or you think we're going to have to wait to see that fix?
As far as I know, and from what I've heard from a couple of other people that maybe follow coaches a little bit better than I do, James isn't exactly the greatest developer of talent, so I doubt we see anything like that change under Franklin. And it's not too huge of a concern at the moment. Like I said, it was more of an issue in 2013, and it looked like it was just showing up every now and then in 2014. But I do think it's maybe he just again needs to get in some snaps and make sure he's tightening up his release and making sure he's hitting that sweet spot every time. But NFL coach maybe change that a little bit, maybe make sure he cleans it up. But it's not something I would expect under Franklin though.
Ryan.
Oh, in our dreams.
People like to make comparisons. I mean, comparisons are the everyday thing of who does he remind you of? Goes back to comparisons. In the pocket, what other NFL players have?
It's that ability to just not be phased and to be able to move around, keep your eyes up, almost as if they're not there. Like they're there, but you're doing such this natural progression of making sure the play goes right that you're not thinking about. At the same time, you're aware of these players and getting out of the way, and that's really impressive. As a whole, like as an entire, it's a lot like Matthew Stafford was coming out of Georgia. And some people are going to be like, oh, well, Matthew Stafford's not that great of an NFL quarterback. That's true, and I agree, but I don't think Stafford is quite as smart or ever was as smart as I've seen Christian Hackenberg be. Not to say that Stafford was dumb. I just think that Hackenberg is very good in that department. But, I mean, you see not quite the same arm strength, but Hackenberg has a very good arm. The way they move around and handle pressure is very, very similar. Even sometimes how they throw off their back foot, with guys in their face is really similar. Some of the, their wow plays just are really similar, and some plays that only really those two and maybe a handful of upper arms can really make. And I like the Matthew Stafford at UGA comp a lot because the sense of to say that Hackenberg is bad, like he's not. Him and Stafford, when I both watched him, I watched Stafford a while ago for a Savages article, and you just watch Stafford and you're like, man, this guy is really good, but there's so much you could do with him. Like there's so much you could make him into, and that's exactly how I see Hackenberg.
Yeah, next step up. It's pretty much.
I think the year before the injury, he threw for like 45 touchdowns or something insane, which I know is like a base level statistic, but I mean, 45 touchdowns out of anyone is still pretty impressive. I think the injury definitely did hurt Stafford. He may have been able to take that nudge.
I mean, some pointed out that it's possible that Bill O'Brien's system made Hackenberg look better than he is, and that James Franklin exposed him for being more normal and not at a higher level. How do you feel about that?
I see around. I thought the way O'Brien's offense worked, it was definitely playing to Hackenberg's strengths. That's how an offense should be. That's how this should work. That shouldn't be a knock on the player. But it wasn't making Hackenberg miraculously better because it was still asking him to make second and third reads and just things like that and make some of these difficult throws, and he was doing it. It's just that when you force him to, when you dumb down the offense for a really smart player, you're kind of just them, and you're almost, maybe this is reaching a little far into it, but with such a smart player like Hackenberg, making everything so simple is almost, well, I think it is a bad thing because they're capable of so much more, and to make it so simple for them, they just can't see it that way, and they overthink something and their decision is late, and that's kind of what the first interception in the UCF game looked like. He just looked like he made too late of a decision and forced to throw at the defender poaching that he shouldn't have made, and you have an interception. I think if you just if you let Hackenberg do things and you ask him to do a lot because he's capable of it, I think that's when you're going to see him at his best.
It's an odd comparison, but it's kind of like an education thing. If you put an extremely bright student in a room of just normal students and have all the regular curriculum stuff, he's going to struggle because he's going to get bored with stuff. It's not going to challenge him. And it's going to become mundane for him. So, and that's what happened to Hackenberg last year.
Yeah, I mean that definitely makes a lot of sense because, yeah, like you were saying, it's just not as he definitely just needs things. Not that he needs things to go right for him. It's just that he really likes this NFL style of structure where he's asked to go boom boom certain things and make sure his footwork's. And when it's not, and when you're kind of just asking him to, well, stand there and find someone open, that's just not who he is. And people are, you know, bashing him for having looked better in an NFL system. Like, how is that a bad thing? We see all these spread quarterbacks like, oh, they're not going to be able to make it in the NFL. And then you look at Hackenberg thrive in this NFL system, and then he kind of is oh no, he can't handle this gimmick offense. It's not going to translate to the NFL. Well, he did very well at 18 years old in an NFL offense. I mean, that's incredible.
You know, I'm your success in a pro style. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to rip apart Marcus Mariota for his playing in the spread offense.
You know, a lot of people seem to, you know, were maybe down on the Manziels because of a lot of how the offense worked. And then you look at Hackenberg thrive in this. Well, he showed some bad things in this other spread offense that he probably won't use in the NFL. Well, you got to understand context. And when he was using a lot of these more, I mean, and you can still see a lot of base traits in that weird spread Franklin offense. And then stuff, Hackenberg looked so good for the most part. So to bash him for not doing quite as well in this other system is just really, really.
So there's just suddenly going to be like 32 teams running NFL offenses, unless that's exactly what happens.
I don't know. I mean, even with the Eagles, like you think definitely have the most, you know, as collegiate offenses you're going to get in the NFL, but they still run a lot more under center than you see out of any of the colleges, you know, the college offenses like that. So I think, you know, a lot of people will also say, oh, well, just because you can take snaps under center, you know, oh, it doesn't make you a better quarterback. Taking snaps under center and the drops align with certain routes and, you know, you read certain parts of your drop, one, that can make it really easy on a smart quarterback, and having a smart quarterback is always a plus. So that's kind of why I favor guys that are really good out of drop back offenses, just because there's a lot more I think you can do from an offensive standpoint and with your quarterback.
Made in all the years of in the early years of scouting you've done.
So everyone doesn't get the 2012 class. So I did not see Andrew Luck while he was getting drafted. I mean, I've seen so Hackenberg. I mean, I really did like, and my grade on Hackenberg isn't necessarily concrete yet, but I'm very confident in who he is, and I see him be very good next year again. So I think there's a very, very good chance that Christian Hackenberg is the best quarterback prospect I've seen in my few short years of scouting.
Hashtag Team Teddy right here. I mean, because you know, last year's quarterback group was it was very.
It was troubling to say.
Fitting word. It's fitting. A whole bunch of other quarterback prospects. So we'll who will we be watching next time?
Preseason article. So that would put Gunnar Kiel next. And I like Gunnar Kiel a lot too. I think he's going to be a first round pick.
Gunnar. So that's going to be next.
All right. That should be a fun.
Everyone, we are going to have Charles to look at. I mean, Charles. He's going to talk. We're going with him a bunch of edge rushers, defensive line. But just for Friday, 5 p.m. again, we're going to look at Jordan Jenkins, edge rusher out of Georgia. It's going to be a fun time. In the future, obviously, Derek's going to come on. He's going to look at quarterbacks. He's going to position.
Maybe Sam Ficken highlights like I was talking about him earlier.
Friday, unless you don't watch Friday, but you really should. So watch Friday, and the next time after that, well, that'll be Gunnar Kiel time.
Mm-hmm.